I'm a data analyst and I like to invest. What happens when data analyst starts to invest? He analyzes the data. I started to invest not so long ago, and one of the ways to have a passive income or passive income stream is to invest to stocks that gives you a dividend. And there is a lot of information what stocks to invest and so on, but let's do a small analysis of ourselves and let's see where we could invest. So first of all, of course, you will need a data for all those stocks that gives you the dividend stream, and there is a good website for that. If you go to a website called dripinvesting.org, you will find a very nice and constantly updating Excel file which has the information about the dividends. And today we are going to use that information, that Excel file, to decide to which shares we would like to invest to have a constant stream of dividends, so we could reinvest them and grow everything like this. Do it slowly, you'll get rich. Once you're on the website, like I mentioned before, dripinvesting.org, you can see Dividend Champion Excel spreadsheet. So let's press on it and let's download the file, save it. If you're using Chrome browser, it might appear in a different way. Once we have a file downloaded, we can see a little bit information on the first screen. We have some different sheets at the bottom, and here are the names like champions, contenders, challenges. What does it mean? Well, if you are not very into investing, let me show you, I would say, because if we go back to the website, we can see a little bit of description in here. The champions are the companies that have increased their dividend every year for the past 25 years. Now we have a contenders, which increased the dividends for the 10 years, and challengers, which increased the dividends for the past 5 years. 25 years, 10 years, that's quite a long time, and we're still increasing the dividends each year for 25 years or 10 years. Well, the companies who are increasing for 5 years, there might be a crisis or something like that these days, coronavirus days, so they might stop doing that. But 25 years, that's a really long time. So even if there is a crisis, because there was not one actually, I think 25 years, maybe 2 or 3 crises during that time, and we're still increasing the dividends. So that's a solid number, I think these are the solid companies you could invest, and you will get a constant dividends, and even more, not just the dividends, but most likely their share price will go up. I can't guess about that, so I don't know, but that might happen. Yeah, so that's a really solid numbers. In this Excel sheet, we can see that there are companies that are champions, contenders, challengers, or all the companies listed in one sheet. Now we have some historical data. I will not go through this Excel, some watch list and some other things, changes, summary, revisions, or even notes if you want to add something more. We are interested in the shares itself. As you can see, the Excel has a lot of numbers, a lot of companies, a lot of everything. Not all people likes the numbers, especially in this small font and a lot of them. So, as a data analyst, I can import everything to PowerBI and see everything in charts. Let's do that. There is a lot of information in here, so I will not go through all of this. Let's import this data to PowerBI and let's see what we can do. Open the PowerBI, which is free for personal use if you download desktop version. Now let's select Excel and the file you just downloaded. Now we have a sheet I showed you before. Select all CC, for example, or Challengers, Champions, or Contenders. In this case, let's try to add the all companies data. So let's select the CCC, Challengers, Contenders, Champions. Select the checkbox, and before loading the data, as you can see, this is not the real data we want to have. Select Transform Data. And in here we can clearly see that there are some headers in these files. If we go back to the Excel file, we can see that as well. Here is, let's go to all CC. We can see that here is some information in here, like basic URL and some other things. You might say, let's delete it from the Excel and everything will be fine. Yes, that's true. Everything will be fine if you delete it from the Excel. But this data is being renewed every month, and once we upload it to the Power BI, we don't want to edit the Excel file each time we want to renew the data. So that's why it's very important not to do any changes to the Excel file you have downloaded. That the next time when you download a new file, a new version of a file with the new data, you will just need to save it at the same location with the same name, and that's all. So this is very important, keep that in mind. So that's why we're gonna do some changes in Power BI, not in the Excel file itself. If you go back to the Power BI, we can see that the real data, the name starts from the line number 4. Let's press on Remove Rows and remove top rows. Now we can see 1, 2, 3 and actually 4 quite null, and on the 5th line the data begins. So let's remove the first 4 lines, press OK. Now the first line has the names, and these are from the previous upload, so of course we don't want that. So let's go use first row as a header option, select use first row as headers, and here you go. We have the names in here. Of course, some names, let's go a little bit down. As you can see, it's a company name. Yeah, we can understand that. Ticker symbol, I guess it's still understandable. Sector as well, industry as well. It's always a good idea to check whether column formatting is good. So in this case, it looks like everything is fine. Price, yes, that's correct. Now in here, we can see that this is a dividend information. So it's up to us if we want to update the column names or we don't. Because in the Excel file, as you can see, the column names contains 2 cells, 2 lines. Dividend yield, current dividend. So for example, press F2, select F2, enter. We can change, for example, for the current dividend. Now year, it might not be clear what this year means. We can change payout year. So it will be much clearer what does this means. As you can see, payout again. So that's why it's a good idea to change at least some basic column names. For now, we basically need only this information. So we won't go through all the table changing the names. Let's leave them as they are, and well, like I said, at least look for these first basic names, because some names are the same, as Excel file contains names in 2 cells, and once you change the names on the first on one line, it gets different. Once we did these changes, press close and apply. As it's quite a big file, it might take a couple of moments to upload the data, but once it's done, we can see all the data in here. So many columns. What should we start from? Well, let's start from a simple table with the most important data. Let's quickly add a simple table. Let's add the name. You can type it in the search. Next, let's add the ticker. Actually, it's called symbol. So let's search for the symbol. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Next, let's add the dividend yield. Oh, actually, let's add the sector first, because once we make our portfolio, we want to have shares in all sectors, not just in 1 or 2. Diversification is the best thing in the investing world. look for a sector, let's add it as well. Price, let's leave it, and let's add the dividend yield. Payouts here is also a good option to add, so that we would know how often payouts are being made. And now it's time to visualize our data. This is why we started this, right? Let's make some charts. Let's start with a pie chart, and let's see how many companies do we have in each sector. Let's find the sector and let's count the names. Name, let's select it again. Now, as you can see, it went to the details, and of course we want to go to the values. Count of the name, yes, this is correct. We want the count of the name. As you can see, one sector takes 40% and it's financials. Then we have industrial and some other smaller sectors. If we select, we'll see the data for the companies. And this at the bottom, total. If it's a yield and if it's a total, this is a totally nonsense. Let's remove that. Total off. We have a sector and count of the companies by the sector. You can clearly do this in the Excel quite easily by yourself without any Power BI or additional software and so on. Yes, that's true. Now, if you want to invest to the shares which gives you the dividend, we want to have a constant stream all over the period of the year. As we can see, payout year, it means, well, it means how often a payout is being done. Most companies does payout 4 times a year. And as a financial year for the company starts at a different time, that means that months at which payout is being done is different as well. So, of course, we want to have a chart that would show us for which months, which companies are doing the payout. And in this Excel file, if we go through the columns, we can see the date, the previous payout, when it was executed, but that's just the only one date we have. So that's about all. Unfortunately, we don't have that data in this Excel file. We'll have to take it from somewhere else. As you know, Power BI can take the data from the internet as well. You just find a website, paste the URL of that website, and the data will be taken. Unfortunately, I was not able to find a freely available data that would contain all the companies and the dates when the payout is being done, when the previous payout was done before. Like one table that would have everything I want. That would be a huge table. I think some commercial products, yeah, they should have this. But as I look through some websites over the internet, I was not able to find anything like that. So I had no choice but to make such file by myself. First, I was able to find where this data is located, but not all the data, not all the companies in one place. So I find that the data is located in NASDAQ, yeah, I think it's pronounced like NASDAQ, in NASDAQ page. So let's see how it looks. If we go to some company name, we can see the DLB dividend history information in here. So you can see it's for a couple of years, it's until 2014, but we have execution date, declaration date, record date, payment date. All the information we need. Unfortunately, as you can see, it's for some kind of a company, not all the companies in the list. So basically what I had to do, I just had to copy, download this data and do this for all the companies. I'm not like a specialist for data scraping or anything like that, so my method was not very sophisticated, but well, I did some work and I downloaded the data for the companies we are working on the Excel file. So if we take a look at the file I have created, we can see that it contains the same columns: execution date, type, cash amount, declaration date, record date, payment date, ticker, and league. So those two columns are additional columns, as of course I needed to distinguish the companies between each other, and I made it a league, like which is it, a contender or a champion or some other one, so that we would have more options in our analysis, as that CCC sheet in the Excel file we uploaded before does not contain that information, unfortunately. So we'll have a filter with this. If you are interested how to create such a file with this data, let me know in the comments. I will create a separate video for that, so you would create it by yourself. If you don't have to do that, if you don't want to go and work and download this data to have everything in one Excel file, you can become the patron and you will get this for free. So, as we have our data, let's upload it to the Power BI. Now, the data you saw was in Excel program, but actually it's not an Excel file. It was created as CSV file, which is just the information. So let's select text CSV. As you can see, only one file is formatted as the CSV. So let's select it. And in here there is one sheet in that file. As I have created this file, I did not left any additional spaces or anything like that we would need to do any formatting in here. And as I can see, the Power BI is able to understand the column names quite easy as well. So just upload the data. Yes, so this time we don't need to transform the data. Once the data is loaded, a new table will appear here, and we can see the columns for that table in here. Now, the first thing you want to do to see the data nice and clear, you have to connect the tables, because it's two different tables, and of course we want the filters and so on to work on the data on both tables. Let's go to the model tab, and here we can see those two tables. In this one, symbol, yes, and in here is a ticker. Drag and drop the symbol on the ticker, and you will see symbol in here, ticker is in here. Now it suggests many-to-many, but we want to have one-to-many. And unfortunately, we have the message that this coordinate is not valid. How come? In the CCC tab, we have like unique tickers, and of course in the other file, the new I have created, there are many of them because there are many dates. And the Power BI does not want to do that. What's happening? Let's take a look at the Excel file. In here, yes, we have unique names. These are removed. Let's go below. Let's go to the bottom of the file. And in here, as you can see, ticker ends, and there is some information about the sectors. And it turns out that not all the data is unique, as we have some blank spaces, which is also counted as a value, and there are more than one, and some digits. There are two ways now. Or we can do many-to-many, or we can transform the data by removing the bottom lines or uploading only those lines that have the data. But once you renew the file, download a new file, it's 752 companies on actually lines where the companies ends. That number might be different in the new file, because you know some companies are being removed, some being added, and we don't know where exactly the data ends, which line is the end of this company's line's data. That's why I did not transform any data for the bottom part, for the one that has some kind of different information than the whole table. And if we want to keep the table structure the same, we don't want to change anything on the Excel file every time we download it, well, it's better to have many-to-many connection than to do some changes on the file. So let's leave it. Let's change it back to many, cross direction both, make relationship active, yes, apply security filter in both directions. For now, let's not select this one. And okay. And we can see the filter was created. Symbol and ticker. Let's go back to our chart and we have more opportunities now. Clustered column chart. Yes, this is what we want. Now let's use the payment date. Let's extend it and let's select just months. And we can actually take the account from the same table. So ticker in here, select the ticker. Of course, it's in the legend again. So let's drop it to the values. Count of the ticker. Let's make it count distinct. This way the name will appear only once. Make that count would be available. So let's go to format. This way you can see which month which company is paying the dividends. Quite useful, right? December has the most companies. November, yeah, looks like, oh, actually February. So let's select the February and we'll have the names of the companies in the table right away. Let's filter this one by the yield. Yeah, and we can instantly see which company pays the most dividend. If you invest to the company which just pays the most dividend, you should know that if a company, the yield, the percent is very high, most likely the stock price is quite low at the moment for that company. So it could be that the company has some kind of issues and that's why it's still paying the dividend as it was paying before, but the price is down as nobody's buying the shares, as company has some issues, or there is something wrong, like now, with the market itself. Because when the pandemic of coronavirus started, many companies went down, the share price went down, only technology sector went up. So in this case, there might be a chance to get a cheap stocks as well. But anyway, when you buy a stock, please check the company before buying anything. Because, well, the good yield is, yes, it's really nice to have it. But there might be some other things that you should investigate before buying it. Let's see, we have this information 4 times. So February, 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah. Let's check if this data is correct. Let's take the symbol, okay, let's go to the internet. Let's change this part to that company. Okay, dividend history. And let's see in which month is it paying the dividends. So we can see 8, 5 to 11. 8, 5 to 11. At the moment we're checking February, which is 2, and this is correct. Let's go back. Yes, we have selected February. Now if we select, yes, it's 3 months later, May, we can see that company again. If we select April, we don't see that company. So this way we can see that our data is correct. We can make a slicer that we could filter the companies. Because, like I said before, 25 years, 10 years and 5 years. So maybe as the times are not so clear, I would say, some things are really unclear what's going to be in the future, maybe we want to invest only to the companies which is paying dividend for 25 years. It's like a bulletproof companies, I think, because 25 years is a really long time and, well, at least 1 or 2 crises happened during that time. So let's make a filter for that. And that's very easy. Just select the slicer. Of course, we don't want such a big one, but let's add a league. Yes, here we go. Let's make it smaller. And let's select, for example, champions. Now we have a companies just for the champions. And as you can see, this chart, the sectors is different for those companies. Financials takes the biggest amount, industrials, but other are also bigger. Not that much, just 25%. So this way you can do a basic investigation for which companies you would like to invest to have a dividends each month. But of course, you probably would like to see that data in here as well, like different sectors and so on. So we can create a new Excel file and type the ticker symbols in there, and we can add that Excel to the Power BI. Now there are two options for the Excel file. You can type the dates and the ticker symbol and the amount you have invested, so you could have the analytics for the future, or you can type just one column with the tickers. It will be like a filter, because in Power BI, yes, you can use the slicer, but I think it's much easier to have it on the Excel file. Just update that file, upload the new data, and see how it changes. Because slicer, well, it's not so easily usable, and you can't enter the data to the Power BI as well, because it's the software to visualize, to show the data, not to take the data in. So let's create a new Excel file. It's a very simple file. I made a status so we could use it for a filter, date, ticker, amount. You can type the amount and you can have additional calculations later. Now I decided to use the date field because I'm planning to invest each month a little bit of my money. Let's say 10, 20, it doesn't really matter. But each month a little, kind the same amount plus the dividends we will get. Which this way it's not necessary to required to have a huge amount of money at the time that you would want to invest. No. If you want to have a passive income later, if you want to do it, it's not necessary to have a huge amount. Just take some kind of small, bigger, it depends on you, money and invest it continuously for, well, actually 10 or 20 years. That would be the best, because that would give you the best results. Let's upload this file to Power BI. Once you do that, the new file will appear in here, portfolio, and let's make a connection. So we have again ticker and the symbol. So let's drag and drop it. It automatically makes the connection, and in this case we can see it's one to many. It does not give you the opportunity to change because there are only one ticker in that table. This might be a problem, an issue in the future if I add same tickers in that column like on a different date. So in that case it might show you an error message while loading the data. So keep that in mind, or add the same tickers at the beginning of your file once you created it, so it would understand that there are different tickers, not just one. Because if you're using with the date, if it's one column, then it's fine. You just type the tickers and leave the unique only. But if it's with the date, so it might be even better to add two same tickers in one column at the beginning. So it would understand that there are not just one. But in this case, as I have created this way, let's leave it like this, and if we'll have an issue, I will show you how to fix it. Once we have our data, let's get back. Let's make one more slicer, and now let's use the status I have created before, buy status, buy or blank. If we select this buy status, we'll see only the companies we have entered in that file. Let's look at the file again, and as we can see, we have the tickers in here. That's correct. We have the same companies once we apply that slicer in our Power BI. And what's more, we can see the months during which the dividends will be paid and the count of the companies. Actually, here are 12 companies, and most of them are paying 4 times a year. That's why you can select 4 or 5 companies each time. As we have a lot of data in this powerful tool to work on, let's see what the average yield we would get with such portfolio, shall we? It's quite easy to do that. Just select card chart. You can actually place it here because it won't be big. We have the yield. Let's select it. Now this is some kind of nonsense, but that's because it's trying to do the sum. Let's change it to the average, and we have 696 average per year. With such portfolio, if the dividend would be paid, like we're paying 25 years, so we can expect that it will be paid like this, and with the current prices of shares, you can expect almost 7% return just in dividends. Not to mention that the price of the shares itself might go up or might go down, or the company might bankrupt as well. So you have to calculate all those things as well. But overall, we can see like what result we might have. If we remove the buy filter for the champions, we have just 3%. If we remove in total, it's 3. Contenders has 3, challengers 3 as well. This is the average. Of course, in my list, I took the companies that paying the highest, at least for this example, the highest yield. Of course, it's always nice to have it, but like I said, if you're planning to buy, check the details about the company first, the news and so on, because it might have some issues and it might bankrupt. That's why the yield is high, but the price, the share price, is low. As you can see, the average yield for all the companies is just 3.4%, which is not very high, but still, you can see how much you can get in the worst case scenario. So this is how you can do a simple analysis by yourself. I think we will improve this Power BI file to have more details. If you have any suggestions what we could add here, please let me know in the comments, because, well, I'm planning to invest to these companies. I think I'll find out, well, I didn't investigate that Excel file we have downloaded before with all that data, because it has a lot of parameters. We have a history of a yield, we have a history of a dividends that was paid, so we have a lot of information and we can improve this file a lot. But for now, the basic information where to invest, you can do it like this. As usual, my patrons will get this Power BI file and the Excel files in my Patreon page. Others, well, you can create it quite easily by yourself. And like I said, if you're interested how to create the data for the dividends history, let me know. I'll create another separate video. So I hope this was useful. If you like it, please subscribe, press that bell button, and see you next time. Thank you for watching.